This story is a story of a little boy who was nearly 4 years old who found an acorn.
Acorn?
An acorn, it comes from the oak trees. It's a seed. It's the sort of seed that trees have, but this acorn is from an oak tree. So he took it home and put it in his pocket and forgot about it. Now, when the evening came, he took his trousers off, folded them up and put them in the cupboard, as good boys do, and forgot all about his trousers, and he forgot about the acorn which was in his trousers. It was a nice green acorn. Months went by, month after month, and he didn't give the acorn another thought, until one day he thought, I'll put these trousers on today. So he got the trousers out and put them on, and then he felt in his pocket and he found the acorn. He pulled it out, but it wasn't green anymore. Now it was wrinkled and dry and brown. Oh, my poor acorn, which was lovely and green, it's brown, he thought. And he showed his mummy. Look, mummy, my green acorn's turned brown and wrinkled. Yes, said the mummy. Now that means it's dried out and it's time to plant it. Do you want to plant it in a bottle? So the mummy got a bottle, filled it with water, and then put the acorn on top of the bottle, just above the water, so the bottom of the acorn was barely touching the water. Now you watch, she said. In a few days you might see a little root come out. And sure enough, a week passed, and a little tiny white root came out of the bottom of the acorn, reaching down into the water. The next day, the little boy went to have a look, and the root had got longer, and the day after it got longer. And then the shell of the acorn started to split, and he could see some green appearing. And a few days later, a little green shoot started to come up with a leaf, and then another leaf, and then another leaf. And after a few weeks, the boy had his own baby acorn tree. It was very small, much smaller than the boy.
It's green?
The leaves were green and the root was white. One day, his daddy said, I think we can't leave it in the water any longer or it will die. It needs earth. So Daddy and the little boy went out into the garden and dug a hole in the middle of the garden and put the acorn, the tree, the baby tree, into the hole, covered it with some nice soil and left it there. The winter came and the tree didn't grow very much in the winter. Then the summer came and it grew more leaves and taller. Then the winter came.
Then another leaf and another leaf. And then these are the apron?
The leaves were opening and reaching up to the sun.
Is that the apron then?
That's right. They were opening up, and every day in the summer, the acorn tree seemed to get bigger and seemed to reach more and more towards the sun, opening its leaves and facing the sun and saying to the sun, thank you for this lovely warm sun and the nice sunlight. Well, the years passed. The little boy became a big boy, a teenager. Then he became an adult and he left home to work. Then he got his own house and his own wife and his own children. But one day he went back to see his daddy, the grandfather of his children, and he brought his children with him. And they went in the garden, and there, standing in the garden, was a magnificent giant oak tree reaching up to the sky. Where did that come from? He said to his father. And the father said, don't you remember? You planted that oak tree when it was a little tiny acorn. And it grew and it grew and it grew. And now it's a giant, enormous acorn tree, which in the autumn will give its own acorns.
Is that to climb it?
It was too big to climb. So when the autumn came, the boy, now the adult boy, came back with his own children, and there under the oak tree were hundreds of acorns. His children gathered up the acorns and put them in their pockets to go home. Well, they couldn't keep all the acorns, but the daddy made sure to keep at least one in a pair of trousers, because he knew one day his own children would find an acorn in their pocket, and then they'd put it in a bottle and see it grow as well. And that's the end of the story.